Since the 70s, we have gone no further than Earth orbit. In the meantime, robotic exploration has gone to all corners of the solar system, and so we have this real contrast between the human exploration, which seems to have got stuck in a rut, and robotic exploration, which has been flourishing. We were asked to come up with a concept which gets humans back to Mars, and so we wanted to combine the two, in fact to have robots and humans working very much together. First of all, we send a set of robots to Mars with a return rocket, but the rocket is not for them. The rocket is sent there empty, and we then we land in the northern plains of Mars, and we know from the 2008 Phoenix mission that just below the surface of the northern plains is ice, and specifically what that gives us is hydrogen and oxygen. So the robots will start mining that ice and delivering it to a rocket propulsion factory. This will produce rocket fuel, which will be able to fuel up this return rocket. So we don't need to send the big mass, which is the rocket fuel, to Mars. We use Mars to produce that rocket fuel. Once we know that there is in fact a return trip from Mars, then we have a crew ready who are going to be sent up. In terms of food, you have to take everything with you. Water is a little different. Water will be recycled. I mean, of course, though we don't like thinking about it, water is recycled on Earth all of the time. And anyone who lives in London, I think, the statistic is you drink it 7 times before it comes out the other end of the Thames. They'll be drinking it a little more than 7 times on the trip over. They don't need huge quantities of water. Once you have water reconstituting dried food, you don't need a lot of mass for that. It's not going to be gourmet cooking on the way, that's for sure, but it is going to be enough to keep the astronauts healthy. But worse than that will be microgravity. And what microgravity does, we know from the space station, is that you get muscle wasting, you actually get bone decay. The muscles, including the heart muscles, are damaged by not having the gravity to work against. And so what we want to do is to reproduce the artificial gravity as our crew is on the way to Mars, to make sure that they get there in good shape. And we do that by our spacecraft is going to separate into 2. We have our crew quarters and we have our re-entry, the re-entry vehicle that will actually land on Mars. We separate them out and they're tethered together. And once they're separated out, we start spinning them round. And just like on a fairground ride, as you spin round, you feel the force pulling you. If you spin round at just the right speed, you're producing gravity. As we go from Earth to Mars, we can give our astronauts an acclimatization. They can slowly feel a difference, a little bit lighter every day as they get towards Mars. And then finally they get into the entry vehicle, and then they set off for the landing onto Mars. Gets them down there, greeted by robots, and then they can start their exploration. They've got a few months on the surface of Mars while they explore. They'll be able to go places that robots can't go. One interesting location that we will be looking for is to go into some of the caves that we've seen on the surface of Mars. Very difficult to get a robot in there. You lose all communication once you go below the surface. So we are going to get to Mars at some point. It's almost inconceivable that we will be sitting looking at that planet in 1,000 years' time, not having sent anyone there.